Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Start with roll call. Morgan Brown.
Here.
Dave Walbrenner.
Here.
Becky Engel.
Here.
Brian Jones.
Here.
Jan Wietrich.
Here.
And Jeremy Weller is on Zoom tonight. And Christina Shark is here. Next up is adoption of agenda and declaration of quorum.
Motion to adopt?
Second.
We have a first and a second. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. And Jeremy? Jeremy, are you okay with the agenda?
Yes, yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Okay, next up is
I
citizen.
raised my right hand.
Okay, we caught it. Okay, next up is citizen speak. I do not have any green cards tonight, so then after that is employee recognition.
This evening, we're excited to recognize some of our invaluable employees. Kate's coming up to read off the names.
First, we have Brian Cutsforth. Mr. Cutsforth is a teacher at Liberty Intermediate School and has been employed by the district for 13 years. Mr. Cutsforth has worked to build community at Liberty and in the Ottumwa School District. He has a willingness to collaborate with other teachers and staff to create an engaging learning environment. Through the Media Club, Mr. Cutsforth helps students gain confidence and leadership in presenting information to our students and families, most recently through the Breast Cancer Awareness Fundraiser. Mr. Cutsforth is always creating new opportunities for students to lead and demonstrating how we can be the best. Congratulations. Next, we have Dana Leon, who is unable to be with us tonight. Ms. Leon is an associate at Dalma Elementary School and has been employed by the district for 27 years. Dana's focus is on our students and supporting them in positive ways to do their best. She's always someone we can count on and always willing to jump into any position to help us out. Dana is able to remain calm, cool, and collected and always has a smile on her face. The students love working with her, and her eagerness to help in any situation is always appreciated. We appreciate you, Dana. Next, we have Ian Traster, who emailed just a few minutes ago. He's unavailable tonight. Mr. Traster is a teacher at Ottumwa High School and has been employed by the district for 4 years. Mr. Traster has been a wonderful instructor in chemistry to my son. He makes the class interesting and engages my son in discussion, which keeps him motivated through a challenging course. He treats his students with respect while letting them know what respect needs to be earned as well. This is a course that my son wants to continue learning more about as he looks toward college. If every student had a teacher like Mr. Traster, learning would be so much more enjoyable. Congratulations. Next, we have Jerry Starling. Mr. Starling is an associate at Farney Elementary School and has been employed by the district for 1 year. Jerry has been a ray of sunshine in our hallways since day one last year at Liberty. He's always upbeat, positive, smiling, and friendly. He celebrates student successes, accomplishments, and soccer goals. When you see him or hear him working with a student one-to-one, he is always praising them for their successes and encouraging them to try or to complete a task. Jerry is someone that any employer would wish to clone. We are so fortunate that he works at Farney, and I'm thankful that he is a member of OCSD. Congratulations. Next, we have Steve Zimmerman. Mr. Zimmerman is the principal at Farney Elementary School and has been employed by the district for 33 years. Mr. Zimmerman has been an exemplary leader in every way. He shows us all what it should look like to be an effective leader. He has always made me feel valued in my role as a teacher and makes it a point to let me know that he appreciates what I do for our school. He always makes it a point to be out and seen by our students, parents, and staff every day. His hard work inspires me to be a better teacher and leader. He handles his role with compassion and grace. We are so lucky to have him as our leader. Congratulations.
Up next is the consent agenda.
Motion to adopt?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Jeremy?
Yes.
Motion passes. And then next is 2 action items for the election of board officers.
Okay, it has been a year since the board last elected president and vice president. We have to do this every year. This year's a little less involved because there wasn't a school board election. So we can do it a couple ways. What I'd be looking for is either a nomination of a board president and vice president individually or together. And then once we stop receiving nominations, the board can take action on whoever is put forth. So I'd be looking for a nomination of a board president and vice president, either separately or together.
I would make a nomination of Christina Shark for president and Becky Engel for vice president.
Okay, and is there a second for that?
Second.
Any other nominations? Okay, then we're closed for nominations. So the board has before them a motion and a second to elect Christina Shark as board president and Becky Engel as board vice president. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
Yes.
You guys can vote. And Jeremy Weller is a yes, so it is unanimous. You guys are elected for another term as president and vice president. And if you'd like to stand, we'll go through and I'll give you the oath of office. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of Board of Education President, Board of Education Vice President in the Ottumwa Community School District as now and hereafter required by law? All right, congratulations. All right, and I will turn it back over to you.
Next, board priority, we will promote and monitor growth in student achievement, and all students will be challenged with high expectations that will meet or exceed measurable targets. We have an informational session, the Ag Program Update with Ms. Johnson.
So this evening, it's an honor to have our ag teacher who oversees FFA as well, which has just grown tremendously under her leadership. So Miranda Johnson is going to tell you a little bit about some of the things going on.
Okay, well, a couple of weeks ago, we had our ribbon cutting at our ag facility, and a lot of you were there, so that was that was neat to see a lot of the community members there to support us at that event. It was also our first ever Farm and Home Show, where we had about 20 vendors set up in our greenhouse, and the community members came out and met with these businesses and purchased some of their items, and then our students fed the community or whoever was out there a free will donation meal. So that was really neat, and get to talk to different people within the community and just show off our new ag facility that you guys were able to purchase for us last year. That was great. We about a month, not quite a month before then, we did filled a semi event where we had not only people from Ottumwa but from all over the state of Iowa help gather items to take down to the hurricane victims in North Carolina, and we had a FFA member dad that took that kind of just took that over and offered his time and his semi to go down there to North Carolina. We had a day where we filled the semi, and we had community members just show up that day and help us start packing things into the semi. It was awesome. So that was a neat event, and we actually filled the semi. We had 23 pallets full of merchandise, and we also had hay bales and livestock feed and just all kinds of things to take down there. So that was a really neat event. Coming up on December 10th, we're going to have a silent auction basket night at the basketball game. We did this last year. We raised $1,800 last year, and all of that money we purchased items for the Ronald McDonald House up in Iowa City, and so we were able to take that to them. So we're going to do that again this year, so we're looking for businesses and community members and families to put together baskets, and then throughout the basketball game, people would come and bid on those different baskets and items throughout the game. So that will be December 10th. We're also doing wreaths. Last year we started this. We make homemade Christmas wreaths, so the students are out selling wreaths right now, and we're going to have a day out at the Ag facility on December 4th where we're going to make those and then get them out to everybody who purchased those or who bought those. Let's see, what else? It's neat to see that our program has really grown. When I first got here, we had maybe a handful of really interested FFA members, and when I put our state roster in last week, we have 75 FFA members. So that is a tremendous growth from when I first got here, and I think we can do a lot more too. So just getting the 7th graders involved, the 8th graders, and keeping the 9th graders at Evans has been awesome. So I'm able to go teach at 9th graders first hour at Evans and then come here. And that has been awesome because I love those 9th graders. They're always so excited about everything. So what else would you like me to?
Would you want to mention, Miranda, a little bit about the fundraiser that the group did? That was just a really neat fundraiser that you guys did for tornado victims.
Oh,
Yeah.
fill the semi, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that. We filled that semi and went down. Like I said, Willie Brandt family is the one that did that for us and offered to go down south for us one weekend. And he was able to take his daughter with us, who's an FFA, so that was really neat. So she got to meet the people that I had been talking to. It was an FFA chapter down there that I've been talking to. It was like a small community. And so they were able to make the connection, and it was just a really neat experience to see that happen. And the community and all the businesses in the community that helped make that possible. So, yeah. Yeah, we've gone through livestock judging contests this year. We have sub-district contests coming up in February along with National FFA Week, and we'll have district contests, and then we'll have state contests. We did a landscape challenge. That was neat. I went to National FFA Convention again this year, obviously, where the kids got to attend a lot of workshops and leadership events, which was great for those students. So just so many opportunities. I'm so glad that Ottumwa has FFA and Ag Ed now because the kids really enjoy it. Really enjoy it.
I know several kids involved in your program, and they just speak wonderfully of you and the program. And some of the kids that are involved, I'm like, really?
Isn't that neat to see?
Yeah. So thank you for all you do.
Yeah, you're welcome. I love it. It's great. It's great. It's not your non-traditional farm kids all the time, so it's neat to see the city kids that are involved and want to do things. So we're trying to get our sweet corn patch and pumpkin patch. We'll probably be going that this spring, so we're interested in getting that going out at the Ag facility, and that'll be a new fun idea, I think. We'll see. You never know. But yeah, so we're just keeping busy.
Any other questions for Miranda from the board?
Nope, I'd also like to say thank you for the work after being out there a couple times and attending the meeting. The support from the parents that she has is tremendous, and so and also from the school district. But really a nice place out there, and thank you for that, growing that program, and thank the family very much for that, and because it was a 53-foot semi-trailer, I think, that took all that stuff over there, so that had to help out a lot. And I'm sure it's not a deal where they get a lot of feed and hay and stuff like that coming to them. So thank you again for that.
Are you having poinsettias for sale for?
We won't have them this year. That's
Okay.
our goal for next year. We did order some of our plugs for this year for the summer and spring, so those will be coming in, so we'll get those going. And we have a bunch of house plants out there that we're trying to take care of right now. So yeah, we'll have poinsettias ready for next year for sure.
Well, thank you, Miranda.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate everything you're
Yes.
doing to grow the program.
Thank you.
Up next, board priority to be the best. We will create a positive learning and working culture for stakeholders and embrace our community partners through communication and transparency. We have an informational presentation on athletics and activity recognition and update with Brandon.
Hello. First thing we're going to do is bring up a couple of our fall coaches. So we had a really, really exciting fall. They're going to give you an update on just a tremendous job that these programs have done this year and some things that we haven't done for a really, really long time. So Chloe Davis, our head volleyball coach, is going to be the first one up.
I made some notes. So this was my first year as the head coach for volleyball, and I had a lot of fun with the girls and everything. And so just some highlights of the year. So in total, we went 31-7 for the season, which is a great success for the program. As far as I can look back, I believe it is at least one of the most winningest seasons, if not the winningest season. I can only go back into the 2000s to see some of those records, but up until that is one of the most winningest seasons. We started off the season going full in. We had 6 games in a matter of 5 days, and that very first day we had our try, which was a great success, and it was good for the girls to come out. We had it at home this year, and so we were able to beat number 4 ranked Carlisle and number 13th ranked Knoxville. They are both ranked in 4A. A couple other things that were some good successes. Eddyville, Blakesburg, Fremont's always been a very, very competitive team, and they got second this year in 2A at state, and we were able to finally take 1 set from them at the Newton tournament, and I have never seen the girls more excited than ever. It was so fun to watch.
And the twins are graduating.
Yes,
right?
and the twins are graduating, so yes. We were able to secure the conference tournament, or Conference South Division title, going 5-0 for conference games, and then we made the trek up to Fort Dodge for the conference tournament, and we were able to secure the championship title as that as well, going completely undefeated for the day. We made it to a regional final, which I believe is the first time in 19 years, I believe, that our program's made it to a regional final. Had to go up to Ankeny Centennial, and they are a very, very competitive team, and so it was a good look for the girls, and they just went in knowing that they just needed to have all the fun in the world, because for some of them it was probably going to be the last game of the season. So we had some multiple athletes hit some personal achievements this year. We had Riley Heimbaugh. She hit 2,000 assists, and this year alone she had 740. Camden Krause hit 1,000 digs, and Maya Fuller and Briley Yeager had 500 kills. When you look at some end-of-the-year stats, our team and some personal athletes, they were leading the conference in most categories. Some really big stats for us is in 5A, Riley Heimbaugh ended the year at number 4 in assists and number 4 in assists per set, and Camden Krause was number 5 in aces and number 4 in digs per set, and that is against all 5A teams, which I think just goes to show that we can be very competitive with those teams. When it comes to all conference, we had 6 athletes get all conference. We had Camden Krause, Riley Heimbaugh, and Briley Yeager get unanimous first team. Michaela Brown and Maya Fuller got unanimous second team, and Chloe O'Brien was honorable mention. And we are losing 6 seniors this year, and so we're going to be looking at those current 8th graders to juniors for next season and hoping to continue the success. Thank you.
Chloe did a remarkable job, in her first year at the helm, and so we're excited about the future. Coach Phil Light is also his first year as head coach in Ottumwa as well, and so he's going to talk about some more things that we did for the first time in a long time.
Good evening. We finished the season 7-2, and I just want to say that having been an assistant for the last few years and then taking over, I had an opportunity to kind of know our kids a little bit, and I knew what we had and what we were capable of doing. The biggest thing I said to our kids is we just have to be consistent at being consistent. And if we can be consistent, we've got ourselves a chance, and I really believe that. And we talked about, since day one, a championship culture. It's a championship mindset, and we talked about accountability. And I love our kids because they were all in. The kids that worked their tails off for us and all that, they were all in. But holding themselves accountable, showing up each and every day, good things happen to people that show up every day. We talked about that, and I think that was key for our kids to our success. And then increasing our energy and our work ethic. This is part of our championship culture. What we do is we changed how we practice, and we practice with a purpose. And our kids had to understand that it's every day, every play, every set, every rep, everything we do matters. And it's just not on the field, it's in the classroom. We want to win the day, and it's all about what's important now, being a student athlete, putting that student first. We felt like that was important for us, but we increased our energy and our work ethic and practice. We were able to train our kids mentally and physically, teach toughness, and it showed. We talked about the brotherhood or the family. That was a part of our championship culture. Forget about me, I love you, put others first, but have a servant heart, servant leadership, and then integrity. You know, it's just not what you do when you're in front of your coaches and your teachers and your peers. It's what you do when nobody's watching. And we talked about how those things are important. And the biggest thing, and you saw it as the year progressed, is playing with confidence, it's having belief, and having faith. Because some of these games, we got down. And we just stressed to our kids these bullet points that I just read off, because I think that's key for any successful program, is to have that culture in place. And my goal is, as the head football coach, is I want to make something, I want to have a program that this community could be proud of. And it starts with having these standards and everything in place. And I felt like that, and I wanted to share that with all of you. But we finished 7-2. Kobe Shatalavan was the leading rusher for us this year, and he set a single-season school record at 1,556 yards and 18 rushing TDs. That's the last I knew going into the playoffs. That was the best in the state in terms of yardage. Cam Maneri had 1,050 yards with 16 touchdowns. As a lot of people are aware in the community, he got hurt. He started off, had an incredible start his senior year. But the thing I'm proud about Cam was when he got injured, he was right there coaching the next guys up and helping them to get better and talking with them. That's what I'm really proud of. As a team record, as far as I can go back, I believe we set a team rushing record with 3,283 yards. That's the most ever that I can find. I think that's really, really important. I want to talk about all conference, because with success, we always talk about when you have team success, you have individual success. And this is, I believe, this is the most we've had recognized in a long, long time. Kobe Shantalavan was first team running back. Cam Maneri was first team running back. This is all conference. Braden Larkin was first team offensive line, as well as Trey Brown at defensive end and Robert Morgan at defensive end. Bryant Coulter was also first team offensive line, and Dylan Forney offensive line. That was our first team, all conference players. Our second team was our quarterback, Matt Mitchell, our linebacker, Parker Derby, at defensive back, Joe Gravy, Caden Lockwood at defensive back, our kicker, Joel Hallgren, and then Nolan Heller at linebacker and Dawson Weller at offensive line. And our honorable mention all conference was Brandon Flattery. So that was our all-conference team. Here recently, we had an all-district team. Our kids were named to that. Kobe Shantalavan, senior running back. First team, Braden Larkin was first team at offensive line. Trey Brown, first team at defensive end. And then Charlie Morgan was, as a sophomore, first team all-district. Second team was Brian Coulter, offensive line. Dylan Forney was offensive line, second team. Matt Mitchell, second team at quarterback. Cam Maneri, senior running back, second team, and then Parker Derby, senior linebacker. Honorable mention was Joe Gravy at defensive back, Caden Lockwood at defensive back, Joel Hallgren as kicker, and Nolan Heller at linebacker. I wanted to recognize those individuals because those young men worked hard. But, the one thing about our kids, we talk about on Thursdays, I have a senior talk. I ask questions to our seniors. We select seniors to come up and talk in front of the team. And I always love, I always ask, what are you going to miss? What are you going to remember about being an OHS Bulldog and all that type of stuff? But I always love ask them this question. Who's an underclassman? Name me 2 underclassmen that you respect and why, and 2 upperclassmen and why that you respect and why. I think that's important. When our kids start talking about one another and, notice kids putting forth the effort and really doing a good job, when they start talking about each other, talking great things about each other, it just builds confidence, that faith, that belief. And that's what I'm really proud of, is how our kids pull together. And we talk about that brotherhood mentality. So I wanted to mention that because a lot of these young men that I just mentioned, these are the guys that are constantly getting picked each and every week. And it's awesome to see a couple of sophomores involved in that. One thing I'll go into a little bit, my goal was to increase our numbers after I took over. I'm really proud of the OYFL program, that flag on Saturdays, and the tackle on Sundays. Kurt Hopkins, Tyler Clubb, and Doug McIntyre really we sat down as a group and talked about what was best, and we got our own high school kids were officiating and coaching those teams. And to me, anytime we can get our kids involved with the youngers, that's a great way to do it. But my goal is, as a head football coach here, is to have vertical alignment, what's being done in first grade all the way to as a senior. And I felt like we made some huge steps with that this year. You know, some form or fashion, we're known around here as the flex bone. You know, that's what we run offensively. Why? Because it fits our kids. It fits our style. We talk about Ottumwa tough. Well, that's a tough one to stop when that thing gets rolling. It's about it's physical. And I think that, you know, we talk about O-Town tough because it fits our kids. I think that's one thing I can truly say. Offensively and defensively and everything that we did this year, we talked about being aggressive and, you know, having that fight in you, that grit, and it really showed. But I'm really proud of the OYFL program, having taken that on, and our middle school program has been critical because they're running the same base stuff that we run at the high school level. And those kids, you know, when they come to the next level, you know, the seventh become an eighth, they already have some of the basics under their belts. And that's really, really important for us. So I wanted to talk about the vertical alignment. And then I feel like it's important that, you know, the coaching staff, the coaches that we have at all levels, that's critical because consistency is key. The kids understand what, you know, when our linebacker coach, Coach Yeager's talking about a certain technique, they understand that all the way from the bottom, the lowest levels to the high school. And I think that's important. That's that vertical alignment. But the thing about it is our kids understand what to expect. They have coaches. I believe our coaches are kid magnets. They attract kids. And I love the fact that I've got our head wrestling coach, Jeremy Frew, coaching football, and our head baseball coach, coaching football. And I love that fact. And I'm very blessed to have those gentlemen on my staff. And I think that's key because we're sharing athletes to begin with. And when they understand when, you know, after football, we're pushing them to go wrestle, we're pushing them to go play basketball. That's how you build programs and build consistency through the athletic programs. And that's what we're going to get. So anyway, I think that's truly important. I'm really pleased with our coaching staff. Next, I'll talk about our strength and conditioning programs. I think there's not many schools in the state of Iowa, to my knowledge, that has middle school lifting and high school lifting. And I'll put our weight room against anybody's. I think that it's Cadillac. Our kids love it. Having the turf, we're able to do a lot of things in class. My knowledge, you know, is that we have basically every football player that's in weight training. And we want that to continue. We want all our student athletes, no matter what the sport is, involved in that, and that's critical for us. And Luke Gomat does a great job of getting that organized and taking care of that. And it's running really well. It's a well-oiled machine. So anyway, I really appreciate that and that commitment there because that's going to make a difference. That's going to make a difference for everybody's program. So anyway, I wanted to touch on those things. And I hope I got everything covered. Is there any questions?
Say I can hear your passion, and I appreciate that because we haven't. I'm not saying it hasn't been there in recent years because everybody's trying their best and all that, but there was a clear difference this year with the football program, and that's because of you. Also, we probably ought to bring you in to maybe give a pep talk to the board before every meeting. We could get a little more pumped up before we have board meetings.
I'd be more than happy to. I'd be more than happy to. Yeah. You know, I tell the kids, you got to bring it to ring it, you know. So Yeah, I appreciate the support. Bulldog Nation is outstanding. It was awesome to look up in the stands and see the stands packed and the support we had, and it was awesome. And I know our kids loved it. They absolutely loved it, but they earned that right. And I tell them, hey, they're here to watch you because you've earned that right. And it's awesome playing meaningful games. Like the last one, we controlled our own destiny. We just came up short, and it is what it is.
Phil, that we really appreciate all the time and effort your coaches and you put in the program. And kind of like Dave's saying, that the thing I noticed was the little things we did so well. So penalties, we didn't have a lot of penalties. Special teams were very good. Just down the line of all the different things that you saw improvement. And we appreciate sharing your knowledge. We know you're a very successful coach and have had a lot of success, and you could tell that success breeds success, and what you're doing is really moving the program along, and we really appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's important just to note that, when Cam got hurt, of course, the yardage he would have had he not got hurt, but then to know that you had somebody, Nolan, to step right in there and take his spot, and just because those were very, very tough shoes to fill, and Nolan stepped in there and done a great job with that, and with those three running was huge. So
yeah, absolutely. I think it's how we practice. One of the things I always talk about is you have to build depth in your program, and you've got to have kids ready to go, and the way we practice and all that. And I remember when Cam went down, I looked at Nolan and I said, buddy, you're the man tonight. And he stepped up to the plate and did a wonderful job. So I appreciate you recognizing that too. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Bo Rabideau is going to join me for this part. All right. A little over a year ago, probably, I came to the board about, kind of like Coach Light talked about, looking at creating comprehensive programming for all of our programs. And we added several sports to the middle school level, and added some additional resources for that as well. I kind of kicked that one off with, well, I might need help. No, thanks. Turn it on. Kind of kicked that one off with a similar way. I think obviously these programs are really fun, and I think they teach kids a lot of skills, but one of the most important pieces that we look at is why participation matters. And this is, I think there's a lot of assumptions we can come up with, but this is actual data from our students right now. Students that participate have a 3.5% higher attendance rate, which over the course of a school year adds up to quite a bit. And their average GPA is 0.43 higher. So, kids that are connected show up to school and perform better. One of the main goals with that, a year and a half ago was to have some youth alignment. We had some holes in our middle school programming, and we knew that, if we didn't get a hold of these kids as early as we could, for participation reasons, but also for development reasons, like Coach Light alluded to, being able to teach them the skills that we needed them to learn in our programs as young as possible, so we can compound that throughout their career really is going to have an impact. So these are just some of the things that we're going to hit on tonight.
So we're going to start with the All-Sport Camp. The All-Sport Camp was something new that we introduced this summer. So we highlighted 9 sports that youth students in the district were able to try out. Those sports were basketball, bowling, running, tennis, volleyball. Both boys and girls did football, wrestling, soccer, and swimming. The whole idea behind the All-Sports Camp was we wanted students to participate in a sport or sports they may have not otherwise tried. So it was a 2-week cycle. And then, students were able to try each sport at least twice. It was really awesome. Sports were led by high school coaches, assistant coaches, and then high school student athletes were also involved in group leaders. Total student attendance for the all sport camp this summer was around 110 students, and we averaged over 100 students each day. So that was really exciting. Thanks. Next, we want to highlight the Ottumwa Youth Football League, as Coach Light alluded to earlier. For starters, it was a great job done by Kurt Hopkins this year and some of his staff. It was the first year that we've had it as a stipend position, and I think it made a huge difference for our community and for our kids. So at the first and second grade level for flag, we had 34 kids. Third and fourth grade level, we had 58 kids for a total of 92 flag footballers. At the fifth and sixth grade level, we had 73 tackle footballers. So the total for all tackle and flag was 165 players. Just for reference, that 73 number compared to the 60 we had the fall prior, so that 13 student difference, that makes a big difference, especially as you climb the ranks going to middle school, high school, et cetera. And that's how you build comprehensive programs.
I think one other piece that was really special about just the way this all came together is just the partnership with the YMCA. And obviously, we're both in town, we're going after the same kids, and sometimes, you can cannibalize each other, but they were a great partner to be able to just sit down and have a conversation and kind of let us go through, hey, we want to make sure that our kids are, learning the progression the right way and getting into our program, as soon as possible. And they were fantastic to work with, and I think it worked out really well for everybody.
And then also highlighting our middle school activity edition. So once again, this goes along with our comprehensive programming objective and initiative. So last year we launched our middle school baseball program, bowling, which Brandon will hit on a little bit, softball, swimming, and girls wrestling. As you can see, participation numbers there to the right of the sport. Soccer has been an interesting one. We are happy to say that we have a schedule finalized, and we will be launching our middle school soccer programs this spring. In a meeting a couple weeks ago held by soccer coaches, we had nearly 80 kids that are interested in middle school soccer. So we expect to have a really great turnout this spring for middle school soccer.
Yeah, so as he kind of mentioned, bowling was a program that we sort of had established already. It's organized differently than anything else in Iowa as far as middle school bowling goes, and so we have a stipend for that position now, which I think has kind of given it some ownership and really kind of brought it into the program. So we're really excited about all these, to get them off the ground, and we're confident that it's going to definitely contribute in a positive way to our high school programs.
Hey, Brandon, one of the things when we were talking about adding these sports, the concern was being able to find competition enough.
Yeah.
How did that go?
Yeah, everything except soccer went pretty well. Swimming's a little bit tricky too, and I mean, the fact of the matter is there's really just not a lot of districts that have middle school swimming and middle school soccer. It's just not something that a lot of places are adding, and I think that's really special for us for here, just to show the commitment that we have to getting these kids into programs earlier, starting to develop them and give them these opportunities, because it does make a big difference. And so soccer was probably the hardest one. We tried really hard to get it off the ground last year, and we just couldn't get games. And we kind of finally got in with a group of schools and were able to play them. And they all look a little bit different. Not all of them are paying coaches. Not all of them are really truly embedded into the school like these programs are for us. And so I think that's definitely a positive thing too. All of our head coaches, has really been an expectation that they're involved with our youth programming and especially programming at the middle school level. And so all of our high school coaches have been involved in making sure that these take off and go the right way, and we're doing the right things in them. And so that's been a really positive thing. On the girls wrestling one, obviously we've increased in numbers, and we really think that that's going to continue to grow. And so we have a dedicated middle school girls coach this year too, that we added to that staff. So I think that's going to have a really positive impact. All right, this one's super exciting. This is girls flag football, and this is something that we got off the ground this year. It's something that is coming for sure. It is an emerging sport at several levels, at the collegiate level, NAIA and NJCAA, and then at the state level or the high school level across the country. There's 11 schools that have already sanctioned girls flag football, 20 schools that are running it on a pilot, which several schools that are surrounding Iowa. And there's 8 schools right now that are showing interest in girls flag football, and Iowa's one of those. I'm a part of a small group of ADs that have interest in their schools. Probably 8 or 9 districts in Iowa are showing pretty strong interest, but I really think that we're ahead of all of them as far as just making sure that we have the right pieces in place. So I don't think there's any other district here that's hired a coach yet. So we have that in place to have some organization and start to get this thing moving. We did a soft launch this year. We had 23 girls that showed interest at 10-12. We had some practice situations where the times that we had to practices and that type of thing, that we just kind of soft launched it with 10-12, but 9th graders will be a part of that next fall for sure, and hopefully we'll get some games and scrimmages similar to soccer. We tried to kind of get some of that going this year, and really just didn't have any schools that were advanced enough in it, to give us a game. And so I think that'll definitely happen next year, and I think moving forward you're going to see this grow really quickly the next couple years. This one is really exciting as well, and this boys volleyball started a little bit organically about 4 years ago with some boys that just really liked volleyball and wanted to play it at a competitive level. And there's really nothing in this area that offers that. One of them actually went to Des Moines to play on a club team, and so they were kind of pivotal in getting this going. And then 3 years ago, we were able to take them to William Penn and do some really fun stuff. But this is the first year we've had a stipend position for it, which has, again, created some organization and really kind of made it feel part of the department. Last year we were able to schedule a scrimmage. So Des Moines Hoover has a program that's similar to ours, pretty well established and organized. And so we were able to go up there and scrimmage them last year, which was a really cool experience for these boys to actually get a competitive match. Right now we have 57 who have shown up at some point to practices, and we're averaging about 40 to 45 kids per week that are showing up to practice. And I think one of the really neat parts about this program is 40% of those kids that are coming every week don't participate in anything else. So it's really their only opportunity and their only connection, back to kind of what we talked about before, how important that connection is. This is the only thing that they have right now, which is, I think, really, really special for this program. The William Penn thing has been really exciting. Coach Luke Bentley has been great about, just offering support to our kids and showing them things. And he came down last week, and we did an inter-squad scrimmage at Evans, and they got to come and be a part of it. And then his team worked with the kids afterwards. And so just kind of a really cool connection. I mean, some of those kids stuck around after and talk to him about what it looks like to play at the next level. And I don't think that conversation's probably happening without this type of opportunity. So just a really, really neat thing for our kids. So.
Brandon, and that program, just to mention, that program at Penn is one of the top men's program in the nation, I do believe. They're usually right there at the top every single year.
Yep, you're right. Yep. I think that's all we have. If there are any questions.
Brandon, do you see any gaps that we should be looking at as far as sports that maybe we should, in upcoming years?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I feel like we have really closed the gap on a lot of these opportunities. I think a year and a half ago there were definitely some pretty obvious ones. But I think we're in a really good spot right now to kind of just allow these programs to grow. Obviously, anything that would happen kind of organically, like the volleyball program, we're certainly not going to not let those things happen. But I think we're in a really, really good spot right now.
I thank you guys for the hard work for all this. I know it takes a lot, and I think the biggest thing is for us is getting the program started. And I think once the problem, like with soccer, I did some traveling this fall. Not that I'm a soccer guy, but my daughter's boyfriend coaches soccer, and he's going to coach the middle school program. But when you drive to Fairfield or Washington or whatever, it is jammed packed with soccer. So I think, and that's club soccer. So I think with getting the program started, I think there'll be no problem with them taking off and going to middle school pretty easy, along with the club programs.
Thanks, Brandon and Bo. Okay, up next is cell phone and grade reconfiguration update with Mike and Maria.
As they come up, I thought the board would enjoy, as the board knows, that two big initiatives we had at the beginning of this year were our grade realignment and then also our cell phone policy. And so I thought the board would enjoy hearing from our buildings, from staff and administration, how it's going and with both of those items.
Hi, guys. We're here to give you some initial updates regarding the implementation of the cell phone policy, which you heard about prior to the start of the school year, and then the grade level reconfiguration. And we'll just go through and introduce ourselves. Start over here.
Aaron Ruff, principal at Gateway High School.
Heather Platten, principal at Liberty Intermediate.
Shelley Bramschreiber, principal at Ottumwa High School.
Mike Davis, principal at Evans Junior High.
All right, so we broke up this presentation in two ways. We just want to talk through some of the cell phone policy findings that we've had. Just initially, we've been implementing it now for a couple of months. You'll hear from each of the building principals on what's going on with the cell phone policy in their buildings. And then also we've put together some videos from both students and staff in very similar format with the grade level reconfiguration as well. And then there'll be time for questions. So just to bring you back to August, when we presented on the cell phone policy, things that we talked to you about were mental health and the impact of phones and specifically social media on mental health. We've seen the trends of mental health issues, whether that is suicide rates or needs for support in disabilities at colleges and other campuses go up tremendously over the last 10 years. We showed data on academic distractions and just even the proximity of the phone and that being close to you and how that distracts you from your learning, and then student safety concerns with the use of cell phones. Those were our big priority areas when we talked about the cell phone policy, and so we're going to touch on that here tonight too, of the impact we're having in those areas.
I'll start with our younger students at Liberty Intermediate. One of the biggest things we noticed right away is that kids are talking to kids, which is not looking down as they walk through the hallways. They're having conversations in the cafeteria, in the hallways, in our outside space. They're just being kids. They're playing. That was the first thing that was noticeable. The other is that teachers and others report there's just not that interruption to instruction. Kids aren't grabbing for things. They aren't worried about the cell phone use within the classroom. And students are truly participating in class. The engagement is a strength in those rooms. The biggest thing that stood out too is when, we tend to think that there's an issue with students wanting to have cell phones. We've only had 5 out of 662 students that have maybe had more than one referral up with a phone. So, there's been a couple that have tried it, but out of the huge population, students aren't grabbing for the phone.
So at Evans, what we've noticed is basically during our passing time and then during lunch, it's a lot louder in the cafeteria, but it's in a good way. We get to hear a lot of different conversations, and we get to hear students actually socializing with not just their peers, but with the adults that are roaming around the cafeteria. On the instruction side, what I noticed in the informal observation was I've got more emails from students, and they're questioning our teachers. I need to do something about the teachers not grading this, or they notice that they're not keeping them occupied for the whole time. So something that I picked up with those students is that they are really paying attention to what's being taught. And so they are starting to question some of those things that are being taught, and it makes it a tougher time for me dealing with that student and then trying to get an understanding from the teacher to give back to the student. So that's what we picked up at Evans.
So at the high school, a lot of the same things. I'm not just repeating, but the halls, lunchroom. I thought today was kind of telling. So we had a substitute SRO in our building today, and he hadn't been in the building all year. And he immediately spoke to the fact that kids were interacting with each other. We saw some kids reading books, which we always do. So I just thought that was kind of an outsider that hadn't been in the building yet and just immediately noticed the difference in our building. So we really appreciate that. You know, we still are working with kids. High school students really, they depend on their phones. And I'm not going to tell you it's been an easy adjustment for everybody because it hasn't. But it has been so positive, and even most of the kids will admit they know it's been a huge improvement for them academically and that type of thing, and being able to disengage from some of the drama that phones do absolutely bring about within our school day. And so it's been great to listen to teachers say, hey, I've got my classroom back. You know, I'm actually teaching them. I'm a week and a half ahead of where I was last year because I can get more content in. And so just so many positive things happening. And, you know, a little bit like Liberty was talking about how many kids have had referrals. So at OHS, on their second phone referral, they have to have a parent or guardian come pick up the phone. And this was pulled a couple weeks ago, but at that point, we'd only had 11 kids, and we've got over 900 that had exceeded their second phone referral. So we've had a lot of phone referrals. I'm not going to tell you we haven't, but they are figuring it out, and that's what we had always hoped for. So it's going great.
So at Gateway, teachers are reporting better engagement, better teacher-to-student relationships, and better student-to-student relationships. As you can tell by the data, this year we had 40 more credits earned by 68 less students. So teachers are reporting that students are more engaged. We've had 5 students reach the second phone referral where their parents had to come get it. So kids, it has been an adjustment. I'm not going to say it's easy every day, but kids are getting used to it, and it's obviously been a good thing for our kids. And I think we have a video that we're going to play next.
We do.
Hi, my name is Lucius Larson. I'm a senior here at Ottumwa High School. The cell phone policy has had a pretty good effect on the school, I think, from getting better grades in classes to more socialization at the cafeteria or in classes. The first week I remember sitting at the cafeteria and nobody was talking, but now, 2 months into school, everybody's talking. And my grades went up personally, and I know my friends does too.
Mr. Sullivan, I go to Gateway High School, and I think the cell phone policy here has helped kids and teachers connect more. They aren't like always on their phones, and the teachers are less stressed out.
My name's Kinley and I'm from Gateway High School. I think that it helps the staff a lot because we can actually have a connection and we can get our work done.
It helps you study. And without phone, it's you can concentrate.
I've noticed more positive interactions between our students and more collaboration.
I think our cell phone policy is great because our students are more engaged.
I think the phone policy is great because it gets students involved with school better and not have to worry about other things while at school.
The things that I noticed from not having my phone is that I build more relationships with other people and I get all my work done.
Hi, my name is Lorelai Sampson.
My name is Stella Marble.
And I noticed the kids are more social.
And they pay attention in class and they're less distracted.
One of my biggest concerns last year when students still had their cell phones with them was their lack of attention, the fact that they weren't having conversations with each other, right? There wasn't even a reason to have people quiet down in class because they just were absorbed in their cell phones, and it was a really worrying experience. So one thing that I've noticed that gives me a lot of hope is the fact that without constant access to their cell phones, students are a lot more sociable, they're a lot more engaged, and you can see their personalities coming out a lot more.
I've seen way better grades because we're not allowed to have our phones for distractions.
I've seen more people paying attention in class and not as many questions being asked for things that were already said.
I've seen people actually interact with each other instead of being on their phone in the hallways.
So you saw from a variety of students in our different buildings, and I appreciate you guys with, it's not always easy to enforce these policies, but we know it's the right work, and that we're creating these better learning experiences for kids. And that goes right alongside of our grade level reconfiguration. I want to take you back to before I was here, when the Be the Best mission came out and what that entailed, and that feedback came from the community. And so the community wanted to invest in Ottumwa High School. And there were questions about the size of the schools in Ottumwa in general, especially Evans. I think Evans was maybe one of the largest middle schools in the state. And then questions about how do we better utilize Liberty and Pickwick, those buildings, to meet student grade level needs. And the idea then came to how do we create these smaller, more personalized learning environments that are neighborhood schools that have grade level configurations that really truly maximize that student learning experience, that band kids by age in the best ways. And that's what Ottumwa has done over the last several years, with the addition of Farney Elementary and moving our 3rd through 5th graders there. So I just broke down a chart of our school buildings last year and our school buildings this year. And ultimately, if we did not go through with this grade level reconfiguration, what the sizes of our buildings would be now. And so last year, we know Liberty was a little bit of an anomaly because we still had our 3rd through 5th graders on the south side at Liberty. They are now at Farney, our new build, which means that with 6th and 7th grade at Liberty, we're about 632-ish kids there in that space. And again, that space is definitely a space for older students and how it's set up in those neighborhoods. Evans, I think this is just mind-blowing to me. The Evans would have been over 1,000 kids this year in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade if we did not have that grade level reconfiguration. We're under 700 kids this year at Evans. And some of the data we'll show you on the next slide, you definitely see the impact of keeping our 9th graders at Evans and having them in that same building over time. Same thing with Ottumwa High School. If we hadn't done a grade level reconfiguration, we'd have over 1,200 kids at Ottumwa High School. We have just over 900 kids there. And then you see our numbers at Gateway, our 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th, and 12th graders. Just some high-level data. I want to talk on the social-emotional piece and creating these grade-level reconfigurations to truly meet student needs. It also goes alongside of the cell phone policy. Those things, we separated them out, but they really are interconnected in the work. We have found that our counselors are better able to support the social-emotional needs of the kids. One, our buildings are smaller, but two, we can better monitor technology with securely. So kids, things that they might have sent to each other on their cell phones, they might have tried to send out in an email or something, and it pops up and we're able to catch it. We're able to have good, critical, important conversations with kids. And that's been really, really important because you think of the securely data, like all of that was happening on student cell phones before. And now we can at least get ahead of that and be proactive and work with kids. And we have had 0 bullying and harassment cases to date in our buildings, in our secondary schools. You see the number of decreases in behaviors from this school year so far in terms of those aggressive behaviors like physical aggression is down 56%. I think it's even important to point out that our classroom managed behaviors, things like students getting in trouble in class and being sent to the office, is also down 52%. And my favorite statistic here is our 9th graders. Again, keeping them at Evans in this grade level configuration of 8, 9, their behavior from fall of last school year to fall of this school year, so that 8th grade cohort, is down 67%. And then our absenteeism is also down, which is exciting too.
Maria, one of the things I think we feel like we'll be able to bring back to the board at semester, we really do feel like grades are going to go up. Mm-hmm. And we'll have that data at semester, so it'll be interesting to see that.
Yeah.
For Liberty Intermediate, the grade configuration, Just in talking to kids, I a lot of times will stop them in the hallways, or I've had them come in the office and talk with me or other staff members, and they all report that the grade configuration has just been a great experience, that they love being with kids their same age. They had just come from that elementary experience of having much younger kids, and they feel like the kids they're with now know and understand their social life, their life issues, and the things they're experiencing. The exciting thing, too, is that with managing behavior with much smaller sizes, I know I was in the configuration before with over 1,100 students, and this is a much manageable piece with this grade configuration. So we've worked really hard on a behavior scale. So 84% of our students are consistently showing the expectations. That seems maybe not the highest number they could be, but if you think about, they are consistently meeting a standard or above in the area of behavior in their classrooms all day long. So when you think of that number and the consistency of doing that all day in the grade span that I'm in, that's pretty great. Social, emotional, and behavioral, we also have been working really hard on restorative practices. We even invited Mr. Ruff into our building, and we've been working with our counselors with the competencies. And at this grade span, it's been great to see their social, emotional. They reported, 80% of students reported that they're having a positive experience. We've been doing a lot of work on building those relationships in our morning groups and trying to incorporate all of those things together. So kids are enjoying being with kids that enjoy the same things they do.
So at Evans, I believe one of the bigger things that we're able to see is that our kids, number one, are a year more mature than what they were. But our ninth graders, we want to treat our ninth graders as high school students as they start to move towards. So we're getting them ready for our high school for the 10th grade. So one of the things I think for us is that we're able to build more relationships and have more one-on-one conversations in a smaller setting than what we did before. We're also able to jump on top of some of the issues that might start to arise before they become an issue by having conversations with those students. But the restorative practice piece, we do a great deal of that now at ninth grade because we feel like they have to start to learn how to deal with certain situations a different way. And that continues to decrease some of the office calls that we have. We teach more about respect, but the smaller setting is just giving us all our teachers and staff a better opportunity to get to know the students better on a more one-on-one basis or even in a group setting. So it's been a great change for us.
So at the high school, we're down about 350 kids. And so just the hallways and the cafeteria are so much more manageable. The kids enjoy it. We have a lot of kids, and I think it's increased in the last few years coming out of COVID with anxiety. And so that lunchroom that used to have 400 kids in it was just overwhelming, and kids just really had a hard time managing that number of kids in the cafeteria. So when you're talking about 100 to 110 less kids in each lunch period, that's made a significant difference for our students, and that's a huge benefit for us. Obviously, it's nice the hallways aren't as crowded, and when you have altercations between kids, and you saw the numbers, how it's across the district, it's decreased a lot, and it's definitely true at OHS. But that, when there's so many numbers and the halls are crowded and the cafeteria is crowded, that's when those altercations happen. And so that has really cut down on a lot of the things happening that had happened previously. So it's just been super beneficial to us. And the students, I kind of said this from the beginning, but we are really starting to see it be true. 9th and 10th grade always had significantly more referrals to the office than 11th and 12th graders. So the drop-off between 10th and 11th grade was huge. And so we were hopeful that since 9th graders were going to be in a different environment, that maybe our 10th graders would step up and kind of instead of stepping back. And we are seeing it. Our 10th graders are really starting to step up, and so hopefully that's going to continue. And I'm just looking forward to over the next few years as they are coming from these smaller environments, from Liberty to Evans, to OHS. I think it's going to be great things happening throughout our district.
We have one more video for you.
Hi, I am Taylor Robinson. I teach English for 8th grade here at Evans Junior High. I just want to say something great about our reconfiguration that we're doing of our 8th and 9th grader here at the junior high. I think it's going wonderfully. I experienced the 9th grade at the high school, experiencing them here, and I think it's going great that we have smaller classes, we have a more smaller setting here at the school, and a more specialized education system for both of them.
One of the good things about Liberty is that there's an age difference between them. So, if you're with like 6th and 8th graders, there's a pretty big age difference. So, you're more with kids your age and who probably get you better. Something that's also good about Liberty Intermediate is that you don't always have to be in the same classroom. You always get to get up and move around between classes, and you also get to meet new teachers and new friends.
You're able to communicate with kids your own age, and you can talk to them about your hobbies and personalities, and you can also definitely find a lot of people who will encourage you in person. And there's also kind of a less risk of cyberbullying because you're not always on your phone a lot. And you can have your friends around you too, and even if you don't see them, you can always see them during between classes.
All right, what questions do you have for us?
Maybe as the board is thinking about those questions, a few things I would add is talking with our elementary principals is, and I never thought about this, is that they would say the fact that we implemented the cell phone policy, they weren't having a lot of problems with cell phones at the elementary, but it's really quelled at the elementary. It's almost non-existent now, so they aren't dealing with it, and they attribute that to our cell phone policy in general. Also, I would mention, with the comments, none of those students were paid for any of their comments, so our students have really, obviously, it's an adjustment, but I think the students really see the value of not having cell phones, and I think the thing that we're learning too is just the impact it's having on our bullying, harassment, or those type of issues, because they don't have access to it during the day, and that's been huge as well. So, and then lastly, I appreciate all the administrators' work putting into this presentation, and a special shout out to you, Maria. You've done a great job with this presentation, so I really appreciate it.
All right, thanks, guys. Unless you have anything for us.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is a few action items. The first one is board policy updates, 3 that have a first reading.
Yeah, we've got 3 policies on here for the board. We'll just give you a quick overview. The first one is 411.02. It's dealing with how we do classified staffing. So classified staff would be your hourly support staff, associates, food service custodians. And what we're asking the board to consider is a modification of this policy. What it allows is the delegation of the hiring of these employees to the superintendent or their designee, and in our case, it'd be the HR director. And what we're asking for is to have that designation, and the reason for it is that it allows us to deploy that support staff quicker. So we run into an issue where we hire associates and then we have to wait till a board report to have them approved and then put them into place. We would still, and the policy is written so the board would still have final approval, but we would be able to hire those employees and put them in the buildings after they've passed their background check, and then the board has a final approval, and there would be a note in their letter of assignment pending final board approval. So in that case, which hasn't happened since I've been here, but if there was an issue between us putting them in and then the board approving it, the board still has final say, but this just allows us to react quicker. So we vetted it with IASB. They actually suggested it, and we talked it with the district legal counsel and found out this is actually fairly common, and we thought it would, our HR department is very much in favor. It would help them get some of those support staff out a little quicker. So that's that one. And then
we have a first read for our updates on chronic absenteeism. You probably know or saw news articles that the state of Iowa passed new legislation around chronic absenteeism and asked districts to put a a way of measuring chronic absenteeism and related to a grading period. And so this policy, this first read, is really just bringing the language of the state legislation into our policy so that we can continue on and follow the legislation as is written.
And the other first reading is the post-secondary education counseling. Last board meeting, we had an update from a couple counselors just on our comprehensive secondary counseling program especially, but also updates from the elementary. This just kind of codifies some of the practices with those shared positions with Indian Hills and the counseling world for college and career counseling, and just talks about some of the roles that they're expected to do as students are exploring and navigating post-secondary careers and college placements.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion or questions? Otherwise, all those in favor, raise your right hand. And
Yes.
Thank you. Next up is a fiscal year 24 treasurer's report with John.
Okay, this one is something we do as part of the annual meeting. It is attached to your board agenda. It's basically information that's been available already with our certified annual reports, but this is kind of the formal piece that's required in Iowa Code Section 279.33. So what you have there is a listing of where the district has money. This is as of the end of the year, June 30th. So we currently we have funds at South Ottumwa Savings Bank, Community First Credit Union, Iowa State Bank and Trust was a new one this last year, and IceJet, which is it carries mostly a lot of our investment funds. So the top section shows all those. It also shows what we have deposits in transit and outstanding payments at the end of the year. And then the bottom section just reconciles that against our balance by fund. So we have the 14 individual funds, so your general fund and activity and management and all those. The total for everything as of June 30, 2024 was $36,581,428.86. And I always like to highlight why this sounds like a lot of money. That would get us about 4 months in our budget. So we do not like to sit on money, but we just operate a fairly large school budget here. So that's where we ended at June 30 of 2024, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
There are no questions for John. We'll look for a motion to approve the 24 treasurer's report.
So move.
Second. We have a first and a second. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand.
Yes.
Thank you. And last is the early resignation incentive with John.
So this is, we've brought this to the board before. This is something that helps us in the HR department. It is an incentive for employees that are planning on leaving the district at the end of their contract year if they notify us early. And in this case, we've assigned a deadline of January 6th of 2025. We provide an incentive of $3,000. This is offered to licensed employees only. So it's mainly the certified group and administrative staff, and those are staff that we benefit from knowing ahead of time so we can start the recruitment and hiring process early. Especially with certified staff, we can pick some of them up at semester end, people that are in school right now. So the $3,000 is funded through our management levy for employees that are over 55 years of age, and under that we fund it through the general fund. We had, the last couple years we've done this. The last 3 school years, we had 14 in 21-22, 12 in 22-23, and 8 last year. So it varies, but the cost of average cost is about $33,000 per year, and most of that does end up getting picked up by the management levy because most of the employees are over 55. But those other ones, especially in some hard-to-fill positions, it helps to know ahead of time. So happy. This is very similar to what we've had in the prior years. So happy to answer any questions, or if Mr. McGrory would like to add anything. I don't think.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add is that a couple years ago we had 2 dates where one you could, and then you got less if you know, and we just never had a lot of people put in for the second date, so we just have 1 date now. And we thought it would be better. We usually have done it before winter break, but we thought it made sense to just wait till right after winter break. So we kind of moved that date. So I think those are just only significant changes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion or questions for John? Otherwise, all those in favor, raise your right hand.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank
Next,
you.
board priority. Through the board's financial stewardship, we will provide operations, technical, and curricular resources to staff, teachers, and administrators so all students have consistent and sustained achievement. We have 2 action items here. The first is a science and FCS furniture purchase with Dave.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. We met with our science and our FCS teachers to determine the needs for their remodeled classrooms on the 4th floor. After the feedback, we sent out a quote or a bid for the classrooms, sent it out to 7 different vendors. We got bids back on 4 on our base bid. So Pickett came in with $119,911. So we have plenty of time to get this here by mid-January, late January for our new classrooms. And this will be our next to last furniture order for the high school.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand.
Yes.
And then last in this section is a real estate purchase.
Yes, what I'm asking the board tonight to do is approve 2 purchases of property. It would be 449 East 4th Street and 451 East 4th Street. You have the information in your board packet about both those homes. Be glad to answer any questions the board has on both of those.
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand.
Yes.
Next is superintendent report.
Thanks, Christina. First thing I have is I shared some information with the board on the Every Student Succeed Act. And as you know, we got information on our Iowa school performance data last week. And Brad's going to kind of just share some of the highlights with the board and give the board an opportunity to ask any questions you might have about our performance data.
Yeah, thank you. And as Mike said, this information was shared with families as well, so that if they haven't received it, they can check their parent score or their email to click a link and dive into their school's performance profile. Just some important notes to make on the profiles is that we're kind of considering this year our baseline year, because the way they come up with the scores completely changed from previous years to this year. So this is kind of a baseline year. And we're really excited to look and see how our grade level reconfigurations and those personalized learning environments help, especially with those academic information that is released in the profiles. Just some highlights. As I said, the profiles all reset with how they gather the data. Some of the data is based on the Iowa assessments that we took last year. Some of the data is a couple years old, just depending on where they pull the data from. But some celebrations. Wilson Elementary School, which was a previously targeted status, with how they used to figure that, is no longer a targeted school, meaning that it met or exceeded expectations. 6 of our 7 elementary schools met or exceeded expectations. The 1 elementary school, Liberty Elementary School, which is no longer, is now Farney, kind of a combination of Farney and Liberty Intermediate. They'll have some additional supports and work that we'll do to address the targeted status. Horace Mann Elementary School received a commendable status. And again, if the public wants to dive in and look and see exactly how our elementary schools, what data is compiled to come up with their school report card, it's different for the elementary than it is secondary, and that information is available on the Iowa School Performance Profile website and was provided to the board on Friday. Our secondary schools, Evans Junior High, Ottumwa High School, and Gateway High School, all have designated supports, meaning that they're going to develop some additional plans, look at some additional metrics. We'll look at how our resources are allocated to those buildings, just to make sure, again, that we're putting our resource to the right places to get maximum student achievement. And again, we're really excited to see how our grade level reconfigurations and just the personalized learning environments and supports. And we've also adopted some new curriculum to address new standards, and we're really focused this year on those learning scales and rubrics to make sure that we're really painting that picture for students and their families and bringing the learning visible so that they know where they're at right now in their learning journey, where they're going and why. And one of the areas that we're most discrepant in for secondary schools was in the area of work-based learning. But as we dove deeper, that metric was pulled from the graduating class 2 school years ago. and it was based on their 4 years of high school. So we've responded a lot last year in work-based learning. We've added additional IJAG programs, which all count towards work-based learning. So that's several hundred students that we have, 200 to 300 students that we have in any given year going through those programs. If you remember, we also added Colby Strebe to the IJAG family as well in work-based learning to help identify pathways for students that didn't exist before and make sure that they're getting into those pathways and having good experiences. So we're feeling really good about where we're at. We also have a lot of work to do still in that area, but we knew that was an area that we needed to address. But other than that, again, we would hope that families, as they dive into those school performance profiles, reach out to your school with any questions. We'll have additional information as it becomes available to us about what those supports look like. Each of our schools has kind of their own mini school improvement advisory council that families can be a part of as well to help develop plans and provide input. And then we had our school improvement advisory committee last week where we didn't dive deeply into this at all because they weren't released quite yet, but we'll do that in future SIAC or school improvement advisory committee meetings to take feedback and see if there are things that we're not thinking about when we're addressing our students and our families to be the best. With that, I'll take any questions that you have. I know there's a lot of information in there, but again, we are open to questions and we hope families reach out if they have any questions or concerns.
Brad, I just want to say that I guess congratulations to our teachers, because I think it's been a while for some of our, it's a huge celebration for some of our schools to move up off of that targeted where they've been for a little while. So to get moved up from that position is really a huge feat. So that means there's got to be a lot of good things going on. I went through a lot of that information the other day, and it was really neat to see how some of that is really starting to pay off.
Yeah, and it really, our focus is on personalizing the learning for students. So you'll hear a lot about the scales work that we are doing in classroom, where each of our units and each of our essential standards really has that through line to make sure students know exactly where they're at in their learning progression, where they're going. And again, we want that to make the learning visible for students and families so that it's not a guessing game, that they know exactly what they're learning, why, and what they need to do to address any gaps they have. We're also piloting a program called Varsity Tutors that any student can access at any time if they're struggling with a topic. It's in their computer in their Clever account. And we're piloting a live virtual tutoring program to just, again, help attack those gaps or push students that are already meeting or exceeding those standards. They can access live tutors to just push them a little bit further. So it's a really intriguing program. As far as we can tell, we're the only school in the state of Iowa that's piloting it at the level that we are. And we're really excited to continue to build momentum with that, to, again, personalize that learning, attack those gaps, but also push students that are ready to be pushed. Because we want to be the best.
One of the things Brad mentioned, graduation plays a large role in the configuration of your scores on this. And one of the things I hope to bring back in the spring for the board is our increased graduation rate. So what we project for this year is, and this is amazing to me, is that OHS last year's graduating class information, which doesn't seem like it should take this long, is you don't get last year's graduating numbers finalized till this spring. And we're looking at about 96% graduation rate at OHS. I think that's got to be the highest in the history of OHS. And the other thing is that it's along with at Gateway 70% graduation rate. And I can tell you that that's the highest graduation rate of any alternative school in Iowa. And so I think those things are really going to make a difference in upcoming reports. I think one of the things that's somewhat frustrating sometimes with these type of reports is, like Brad said, it's a year behind, so it's a year in arrears. And so as educators, we'd rather have live data and so forth to be able to work with, but it does really help us as far as giving us guidance and what we need to focus on and improve too. So any other questions from the board on our comments? If not, thanks, Brad. Appreciate it. One other thing I thought the board would be interested in, Iowa Association of School Boards put out bond issues, how many passed this recent election, how many did not. And I thought it was kind of interesting is that 40% of the bond issues this past election were approved, and then 60% were not. So it's kind of interesting. Just the number that were not approved, and you need 60% to approve a bond issue, so it's a little bit higher. But I just thought that was interesting that a lot of schools that are trying to pass bond issues are kind of struggling right now to do that. So sharing that with the board. One other item, large schools superintendents, an organization I'm part of, they've kind of identified some of the things they really are going to advocate for this year. And none of these will surprise the board, but one is just adequate funding for public schools, making sure you get adequate funding, helping with the teacher, administrator, staff shortage. There'll be an emphasis on quality preschool this year by the large school districts. The one thing I always encourage the board is that would help our district a lot in all districts is that if they fully funded 4-year-olds. Right now we just get half funding for 4-year-olds, and that would be huge for our district if they did that. Some of the other ones focusing on is literacy and ELL as well. So those, and then I think the last one would be special ed also as a focus. So those are just some priorities this year in the legislative forum. It'll be interesting this year because as the board knows, as far as one party having control in all the House and the Senate, so to see how that goes and see how what changes and what doesn't change. So the last thing I have is we have a student event, a student play this weekend that's at Bridgeview, and a lot of our students are involved in it. It's called the Greatest Pageant, Christmas Pageant Ever. The nights that it will play will be Friday night at 7, Saturday night at 7, and then Sunday at 2. So it really, and I thank Becky for helping and leading that because it helps our kids so much as far as increasing our numbers and drama, and we're seeing that at not only the middle school level but also at the high school level. So look forward to that. I think that's all I have, Christina.
Next up is board member topics.
Since our last board meeting, there have been 2 productions, drama productions by the high school and the middle school. And I think Jeff Leonard and Pam DeBoer need to be recognized for all the hard work that they put into that. The high school production 6 was one of the best shows that I have seen done by a high school. And I thank the board for the support that they've given to the drama department. The lighting that they have there is fantastic. My understanding is we might be getting a scrim. And at Evans, the sound system is very good, and a few other things that, I could see being put in there. But yeah, it's great to see so many kids involved in the drama department because, they're not all athletes and everybody needs a place to go. So.
I would like to say Brandon and his team did a really great job of planning our first red and white gala for the A Club over the weekend. It was a great event, and it was very nice and well attended. I would love it if that would continue, maybe every other year or annually, but for the first one, it was very good.
Do you know what you raised, Brandon?
We don't know for sure, but it'll be close to the 20,000.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, good attendance. Okay, well, if that's everything, we need a motion to go into closed session.
Make a motion, we go into closed session?
Second.
And this is a roll call vote. Morgan Brown?
Yes.
Dave Wallbrenner?
Yes.
Becky Engel?
Yes.
Brian Jones?
Yes.
Jan Wietrich?
Yes.
Jeremy Weller?
Yes.
And Christina Shark is a yes. We'll go into closed session, take a 5-minute recess.